Hi everybody, thank you so much. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Megan, also known as a faithful fibromyalgia warrior, and I am just feeling really excited to just share with you guys a little bit about how I'm feeling, what my Christmas was like, and obviously I hope that you guys are doing all right as well. So today I was reading something very encouraging, but also very challenging. And I read something in the scriptures today in the Bible. And if you aren't somebody who really believes in God, or you're just not really super religious, that's totally okay. I'm not either. I like to think of myself as a spiritual person, a faithful Christian, but not religious. So I hope you'll bear with me as I look up the scripture. And it's basically what it is it is found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, in verse 9. Now, bear with me a minute, please, because I just want to read this and share it with you guys. But it really struck to me because, as we have finished off Christmas, today it's the 27th, and we're gearing up to sort of wrap up the year. And so I don't know about you guys, but I always think about kind of what sort of plans do I want to have for the new year? What sort of things am I hoping to do? Or what do I want to see happen and become accomplished? And the thing is that really struck to me is that it's great to have a plan. I had a teacher in high school. Now stay with me because this will actually have a point. This will actually make sense, okay? What my teacher used to say, and I think it was in history class. I can't believe I remember this, but he had a poster up at the back of the class, okay? And it said, "If you aim at nothing, you will hit it." And I didn't get that right away, and then I had to stop and think about it. It's like, oh, well, if I don't have any plans, if I just say I'm going to do nothing, I'm not going to try to do anything or be anyone or, have any goals or aim for any accomplishments, that's exactly what I'm going to end up with. And he had on the poster was an image of like a cartoon arrow flying through the air, and you see there's like a drawing of it had a drawing of a target, and it just landed underneath the target, didn't go anywhere, right? But it made sense, and so he was wise in that regard, right? But even more importantly, what I've come to see and understand and also live with my life as a Christian is this. So sorry for all the preamble, but here we go. So in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9, it says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." So I guess what I realized is I could have all the plans I want, but ultimately God's going to either make it happen or not happen, right? He's got his own ideas of where he would like to see my life go. So based on my decisions, based on what I do, it will affect other outcomes. It's not like God is not this controlling God. He gives us all free will. But whenever we make a decision, it will have a knock-on effect, right? So I might have planned to, I don't know, write a book. But as it turns out, I haven't got any solid ideas. And at the moment, I don't have that creative outflowing to do that. Maybe I will. Like I journal all my thoughts. I'll write down my prayers, and I'll just express what I'm feeling and write it all out because it helps me sort of communicate with God as well as meditate. For me, it's almost like a form of written meditation and prayer. But that's fantastic. But when I'm done, or however long that I take every day, I suddenly feel like that's it. I got nothing else to write for today, so I don't know that I'm going to be writing a book unless I was to take all those journal entries and go through the long process of typing them out, putting them in I don't know. Maybe one day, right? But the thing being is that we can have all the plans we want, but if we haven't made God the one in control, if we haven't, figured out, well, is this what God wants for me? Then it doesn't happen. Or things happen in a way that we would never expect. There were times, for example, if you guys saw my last video, you'll know that I shared that my younger son, so my husband and I, we have two boys, well, not boys, one is 22, the other one's 19, and our 19-year-old had a chance to go work as a cook at a resort that his cousin on my husband's side of the family manages, because he's about 10 years older. And so that was meant to just be a summer job. And he was going to be originally home in September. And then he had the chance to stay until October. And then he decided that he was going to come back here to England for 5 weeks, but then he was going back to Canada permanently, which is what he's done. And so all my dreams about, we're going to have a great Christmas as a whole family, the four of us, we'll do the turkey and all of that. Well, that didn't work. That didn't happen because our younger son spent Christmas with his cousin and his cousin's wife and her family, which is great. So it was just 3 of us. And it was so relaxing, but it was so different from what I thought Christmas was going to end up being like this year. We didn't do a turkey. There didn't seem to be any need for it for just 3 people. And since I don't eat carbs, my husband eats very few, and my older son doesn't eat a whole lot of them, there was no sense getting a turkey and the stuffing and the Yorkshire puddings and all the usual things, because I realized that after 2.5 years of eating in a way that God intended for us to eat, which was mainly animal meat or animal products, that being, if it's a poultry, then they're eggs, whether it's chicken or duck or goose, although you don't really find that very often, but, the eggs. Or if you eat a lot of fish and seafood, then it would be things like salmon roe, which is their eggs, or caviar, as we would refer to it. Not a fan of caviar. Tried it once. Too salty. Ick. And I don't like fish. So that's a side point. But it's amazing how sometimes the plans that we have end up different in the best possible way. I myself did not expect that when I suffered a lower back disc injury back in 2014, that I would be at this point in life doing this. At that time, we were in the process of applying for our indefinite leave to remain, to be permanent residents here in the UK. So there was all sorts of paperwork and organization stuff that we had to do. And I was still working full time, but I was in absolute agony. I prayed for it to be fixed. I prayed for it to go away. And after almost a year of testing and eliminations and all this other stuff, they told me, oh, by the way, you also have fibromyalgia. And no, we don't have a cure. We don't have a way to fix it. That was not how I thought my life was going to go. I thought I was going to be working full time, with full, mobility, range of motion, full functioning of my body. And although I would still be heavily into bulimia and binging and purging and causing myself harm mentally, physically, I would have been working still, probably until retirement age. That's what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't. And God had other plans, pardon me, where because of having fibromyalgia and IBS and something called Raynaud's, which affects the nerves, in your hands and feet particularly, along with lifelong anxiety and most of my life struggling with depression, especially, not surprisingly, when puberty hit and all the physical changes, and I was the first one to develop out of my friends, and I felt like I stuck out and I didn't fit in and all those fun things, all added together. And I was so frustrated and I was so at the point of feeling helpless and hopeless. And I was just trying to do everything by my own strength, by my own abilities, and that didn't get me anywhere. Other than eventually I did have to stop working and go on disability benefits. I did need a crutch. At one point, my inflammation, my pain was so bad that I couldn't wear regular bras because the underwire and the hooks would just cause me agony. I can only live in like super comfortable sports bras. I couldn't wear jeans. I couldn't wear tights. I kind of lived in leggings. I didn't really do track pants. But even though I would wear things that were as loose and comfortable as possible, I would often buy clothes that were a size or two bigger just so they wouldn't fit too snug because I was in that much pain. And of course, I was comfort eating at times. And then when the weight would go up, my anxiety levels would go up, my depression would go up. I would start binging and purging once again. I would see a little bit of the weight come off, but all the pain, all the inflammation, all the cravings for the food and especially, like the processed treats and goodies just amplified. And I was trying to cut everything out all at once, full stop, because I was so unhappy with how I looked, but especially how I felt. And through all of that, I never stopped believing in God or the fact that God was existed. But I was like, okay, well, my life isn't going how I think it should. And so, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own strength. So I guess the best way to put it would be God and I were estranged for almost 17 years, between 2003 and 2020. There was a lot of stuff and political stuff going on in our previous church, so we left it. I didn't leave God, but I definitely did not keep him at the top of my list. I didn't, see the opportunity at first as one where I would learn, I would have my faith refined, I would have, all the challenges would become things that I could grow through spiritually, and that one day I could say to someone else, hey, you know what? I've been there. I totally get how crappy and sucky this is. But it can get better. Doesn't mean it goes away. In fact, today, we had friends over for lunch today, which was great. I made my usual bacon and ground beef with egg yolks, and they did toasted breadsticks with fillings, sort of like subs. My husband made toasted subs for 3 of them, and the one friend, she is vegetarian, so I made sure to have like a nice pasta with some cheese and other bits in it, and that's what she had, so making sure that she was looked after. And even though I knew that some of my bloating was because I had just eaten and my body was starting to digest, and that the bloating would go down as my body went through the food I ate, because I added in some donor meat that had a little bit of spice in it, and I felt that. Even though I knew it intellectually, I still had to keep telling myself over and over in my head, it is not weight. You are not getting fat. It will go away, but you ate that donor meat, which you knew was slightly spiced. Usually donor meat doesn't bother me, but this one happened to have a bit of spice in it. Pepper, I think. And it affected me. And I know that that's what caused me to have bloating. But in my head, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, I can feel my jeans getting tight. And telling myself over and over again, you did not just gain 10 pounds. You did not just gain 10 pounds. You were bloated because you ate something with pepper in it, which you know you can't handle because you can't digest it. You'll be fine. And what it reminded me of was that in spite of all the progress that I have made, and I've made a lot of progress, there are still moments where I struggle. And I used to think I'm doing something wrong. I must be doing carnivore, keto, whatever wrong, because in spite of eating when I'm hungry, stopping when I'm satiated, sticking to, meat and bacon. I mean, okay, like other meats, bacon, egg yolks, even though I'm sticking to that, there are times where I get a bit bloated, especially right before my cycle, which is where I'm at, and that's normal. And I actually have to constantly tell myself out loud and in my head, it's normal. It's normal. Do not freak out. Do not freak out. Do not panic. Don't get anxious. It's normal. It will go down in a day or two. You'll be back to normal. It'll be fine. Just put on some comfortable jeans or something that doesn't feel tight on you. Everything's okay. And not last night, but I guess early this morning when the dogs woke me up, I was drenched in sweat. For somebody with a low, like I have a very underactive thyroid, and even with the medication, I very often don't sweat. Other people around me might be sweating buckets, and I might feel warm and have a bit of a warm glow, but I don't sweat easily. And yet I woke up this morning feeling drenched in sweat. And all day I've been going from I'm way too hot, 10 minutes later, oh my gosh, I'm way too cold. Now I'm too hot. Now I'm too cold. So I know that I'm in the early stages of menopause, but this is the first time this has happened. So it's crazy, right? And even though I know intellectually, I'm fine. I'm nothing to worry about. Everything's good. It will still cause me to feel those stressful panic moments like, I ate something, I'm being punished now. And so for those of you out there, my sisters and brothers who have struggled with disordered eating, with an eating disorder, with food addictions, I get it. I understand, and I don't have a perfect, magical, make it go away solution, but I've found something that helps me during those moments, other than telling myself repeatedly and in my head, don't panic. It's normal. It'll go away. It always does. Don't panic, right? Other than that, I find I have to stop, and I have to actually take a moment and pray and ask God, please take away my anxiety. Please help me to calm my panic mode. And sometimes it works right away, and other times it doesn't. I figured I want to be completely honest with you guys, because I know there's some people out there who might tell you that, hey, if you go carnivore, the mental wars that you have with yourself, those of us who have addiction or eating disorders, yeah, it'll stop. Maybe. If you're that lucky, where within 2 weeks of eating, letting yourself eat till you're satiated, if you are not struggling with all of those guilty feelings we would have had for eating, then please tell me your secret, because you are so very lucky. Because it's very difficult to come out of an eating disorder or food addiction. Any addiction, really, but food addiction in particular, right? Because nobody really sees it as a big deal. It's just cookies. Oh, you have a sweet tooth. That's okay. And it's not, right? People are realizing it's not good for us. But in honesty, it's very difficult to get the same sort of sympathy as if you had an addiction to alcohol or to drugs. Because why? You're not going to start acting, well, that's not true. Sugar, when you're if you're addicted to sugar and even carbs that become sugar, and you suddenly go without it, you feel withdrawal, like you would with illegal substances or alcohol. And while it will not affect, say, your ability to drive your car or complete your report at work, it will affect your emotional state. And when your stress levels get out of control like that, it puts so much pressure on your adrenals and your cortisol levels. And then the weight will start to be held on to, and it's a cycle. And I am not at all trying to say, I got it, I've arrived, I've figured it out, I've solved this problem. I have not. But I know it's helped me manage. I know it's helped me to cope along the way. And the first thing I had to do for me was I had to start eating the way God intended. Now, I know I've heard someone else call it this. I can't remember who it was. But call it what you like. Call it the proper human diet, which I know is what Dr. Ken Berry and Nisha call it, which I think fits perfectly. It's a diet that we as humans were designed to eat. Now, from a historical and scientific point of view, which I think is important. But also, if you go into the Bible, and I know I bang on about this in other videos, but this is true. Like if you are a Christian, if you're a believer, and you believe in the Bible and that it is true, right? Read Genesis in chapter 1 and again in chapter 9, where it is laid out clearly that we are meant to eat animals. They are there to provide us with those essential amino acids and all the vitamins and all the nutrition that our body requires that we cannot produce ourselves. Now, the best kind of meat is generally from ruminant animals like cows, so beef, and sheep, lamb. Why? Because with their multiple stomachs, they can break down all the grasses and all the cellulose and turn it into delicious fat deposits in the skeletal muscle meat. That is how God created them. If you are not hypersensitive to grains and cereals, then you will probably be fine with both pork and with poultry. Have at it. I don't usually eat poultry because I find it is not fatty enough and it makes me want to eat more. It's not overly filling, in my opinion. I will always throw egg yolks in with my with my meat meals, and sometimes I'll make even these egg bakes, I call them. And all it is it's like 14 or 15 eggs, the whole egg, with a bit of milk, whole milk, okay? You could do it with cream, and it would be even richer, nicer. I put in a sprinkle of baking allspice, so a bit of cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom. Excuse me, like a half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, baking soda. A little bit of grated sea salt. And then I blend it all up with my hand mixer and put it on like one of those non-stick baking paper in a tray. And I don't know, put the oven at 190, chuck it in there for about 15 minutes, and cut it up into squares. And if I decide to have some, like, right after it's cooked, fantastic. Oh, sorry, and I also forgot to add, I either put in a tablespoon of sweetener, just to give it just a very slight sweet taste, which it sounds like a lot, but we're talking 14, sometimes even 16 eggs, so it's really not that much. Or today, my husband likes to have a little bit of a syrup flavor shot in his coffee. But he always gets the skinny stuff, so the stuff with sweetener, sugar-free. And I put in a shot's worth of, I think it's hazelnut caramel, something like that. So really nice. And then what I do, I let it cool, chuck it in the fridge. And then what I might have, instead of having bacon, beef, and eggs for breakfast, is I'll take a couple of pieces out and I will fry them up in the pan with some butter. I'll make an egg wash, dip it in the egg wash like you would for French toast, and then I'll fry it up in the pan, and then I'll melt butter over it, and it's amazing. And it's pretty filling, and it tastes just a hint of sweet. So it's kind of like you're getting French toast, but you're obviously not having sugary syrup, and you're not having bread. So I don't know. Some people might say that means it's not carnivore. Why? It's got a bit of dairy, and it's got egg. That's it. That's it, really, and some sweetener. Okay, sweetener, technically, maybe not carnivore, but oh well, big whoop. I don't do it every day. And it's great because my husband does have a sweet tooth, but if I do it, he'll take a few pieces and that will get him going until, we actually have our next meal. And for him, it's a great transition. He isn't he does have a sugar addiction, and this is helping him to cut back on sweetness. So I say it's win-win, right? Whether you want to call this more keto, a more ketovore, more carnivore, it's so hard because I feel like because I had something with a bit of sweetener and spice in it that somehow I've got to hand in my membership card to the carnivore community. But I think that's garbage, okay? 98% of what I eat is animal-based. And that 2% that's left, it's really not that big a deal. It's every now and again. It's on occasion. And by the way, yes, I do drink coffee. I was trying to get to decaf to come off of it, but then I realized, you know what? There's 0 carbs in it. I generally drink it black. Every now and again, I'll go out and have a cappuccino with the milk. But for the most part, I drink my tea and coffee black. So why would I give that up if I'm enjoying it and I'm not chucking carbs in my body? So far, I can tolerate it. I have to be mindful not to have like 8 cups of full fuel coffee. I will often switch to decaf in the afternoon. But other than that, it's not a big deal. And I was starting to realize, over the holidays at least, that, you know what, maybe I need to take the advice that many people have given, which is you have to figure out for this way of eating what works and what doesn't. I know what works for me. I know it doesn't. And I know that most sweeteners I have to avoid because they just wreak havoc with my system. When I made this the gammon joint for Christmas dinner, I made a light sort of basting of what did I mix? It was the allspice with a little bit of syrup and pineapple juice. Because my thought was it'll add a bit of flavor, but it'll cook off all the sugary bits. Like if you cook with wine, you cook the alcohol out. That's what I was thinking. Plus, I was figuring I'm just going to have a small piece. So I did that. And whilst I was making it, for whatever reason, I decided I'm going to have a piece of pineapple. And I did, and then I stopped myself from eating anymore. But the thing is this, even if it wasn't full of fructose, which it is, obviously, the biggest problem is that it is a citric fruit, and I have IBS, so anything that is citric or acidic in some way will set my IBS off, and it did within about 2 minutes. I broke out in spots, so they're almost cleared up, but it's almost like it caused me to break out in almost like pimples, because I've not had a piece of fruit like pineapple in 2.5 years. And so I learned, that I really can't have any of that, and I shouldn't. And part of me was like, do I want to say this to you guys? Like, do I tell you I did this? Not as far as, oh, I'm so sorry, I was bad carnivore, I ate a piece of fruit, I ate a piece of pineapple, like a bite's worth. No, it's to say, you know what, guys? I struggle with that stuff just like you. And we normally would never have it in the house. So it was never a problem. And I'm seeing the result of having had it. My joints are still a bit sore. And like I said, I broke out around my mouth because I can't tolerate it, which is the rosacea here as well, because I know that I shouldn't have it. And so I was going to wait and talk to you guys, when everything was cleared up and I'd have my full makeup on and dress nice. And I thought, you know what? This is me. I just want to be real with you guys. This is just me, right? I'm in my lounge top. I'm in the spare room, our younger son's old room. office / recording studio. And I thought, you know what? I did have a nice Christmas. It was very chilled out. It was very quiet and calm. It was not what I would have thought Christmas would be like if you were to ask me, say, back in July. Because I thought he'll be home and it'll be the four of us again. Yay. And it was great. You know, I got a nice gift card for the body shop for my older son. I got this new webcam that I'm using right now for my husband. I didn't ask for it. It was a total surprise. And I got a brand new poncho for my power chair. Perfect. Everybody got a few nice things that, you know, we really wanted. We ate together, watched a movie. It was fantastic. And I don't know if that's just because my kids are adults now, as opposed to when they were little kids. But what I realized is that every year I would try to do more and more to try to recapture that feeling of wonder I had when I was a kid. And what I came to realize is I'm never going to be able to recapture that feeling because I'm not a kid anymore. And I know the truth about, you know, who gets the presents and how we get the presents and all this sort of thing, right? And so, not to say that I was feeling grinchy, I wasn't, but I realized that, you know, those memories need to be kept as memories, happy memories of my past, but I need to enjoy what's happening right now in my present and wait to see what happens in my future. And to be honest, I realized, you know what, that's got to be my relationship with God, is to not hold on to things that people have said or done that I feel they wronged me or they were hurtful. That's the past. God is constant. And when I decided I was going to do it all by myself, he was still there. And I was so busy feeling upset about how people had treated me in the past that I stopped realizing, well, that's them. That's not God. And I'm not perfect. I know, surprising, right? I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You know, we are a community of faithful people who all have our own sins, our own struggles. None of us are perfect. And yet we often expect perfection from a group that is made up of people who aren't perfect. So how does that work, right? You know, I came to realize that as much as we might hope for some things to happen, doesn't mean it will. And it's God who's going to be planning all the steps, and it's God who's going to be making everything happen. And I realized, you know what? Isn't it better for me to be on God's side than trying to do it all by myself and just failing miserably? And absolutely, you know, I was trying to do all the right things, but I wasn't walking with God. And I was trying to eat right. What I thought I was doing is eating right, but I wasn't. And I wasn't dealing with my anxiety. I wasn't dealing with my depression. I wasn't dealing with my eating disorder, my food addictions, or any of it. I wasn't getting real about it. It sucked. I was full of resentment. I was like, God, why did you do this to me? Why? What did I do? And then I eventually came to realize, well, why not me? I mean, am I that special that I would never have a challenge in my life? No. And now I'm glad that it's happened. There are people out there who might think, okay, that's weird. No, you know what? Like I said, I was in so much pain. I could not wear regular bras. I was in so much agony. I could not wear tights. I could not wear jeans. I could not put belts on. I lived in leggings and loose tops because it's all I could wear that wasn't causing me constant pain. And I didn't realize for the first 5 years that I also had an underactive thyroid. Well, I was pretty sure I did, but my doctor refused to do the testing to confirm it. And so even if I ate next to nothing, my weight would still creep up. So here I was stuck in this cycle of misery and binging and purging and not knowing how to fix it. And meanwhile, God was just waiting for me. But I had to go through all of that first. I had to go through all of that to get to where I am today. And I'm grateful to be here today. I really am. You know, when I somehow in the back of my head, and I think it was a Holy Spirit going, try keto. Try this keto thing. Just popped into my head. And I looked it up and researched, and I started to follow the advice. And then I realized I had to become carnivore because fruits were out anyways, but vegetables were causing me issues. And it didn't cure anything, but it made massive improvements to the point where I lost almost 85 pounds within 4 months. Just by cutting out all of the crap, all the inflammatory, pain-inducing crap. And I've not done it perfectly, and I've slipped a few times, but that's where I realized, you know what, living, it's got to be, for me, I look at it, it's got to be a lifestyle. I cannot look at it as just a diet. You know, eating the way God intended has to be a lifestyle. Because if I think of it as a diet, then it's not gonna work. It's gonna end up like anything else I ever tried during my eating disorder period of my life. And so it's gotta be a lifestyle. But what I also realized is I cannot do it by my own strength. And so when my brain fog started to dissipate, it was like pea soup over my head, right? Like a cartoon cloud, and it dissipated. And I get little whiffs and wafts of clouds every now and again, but mostly, it's gone. And when that happened, that's when I was able to realize, you know what? I cannot avoid the crap by my own willpower, because I did it for decades and it didn't work. I cannot eat and nourish my body without guilt on my own strength, because I tried and it didn't work for decades. And so that's where I realized, you know what? I've been ghosting God, basically. And I have to go by the faith that he will forgive me and let me be his friend again. You know what I mean? Like, right? And connect and walk with him and, you know, figure out what he actually wants me to do with my life. And it's been great. It's not been, like I say, it's not like it's been perfect, because I'm not perfect. So this idea of I've done this diet perfectly, well, clearly not, because for those who are finding it's, you know, not helping or it's not working quickly, none of us are perfect. So there's absolutely no way we could follow something completely perfectly, even if it means like we have just that much, maybe we have just a little too much protein for our bodies. That would be enough for it to not work. Or we're under still too much stress or anxiety. That will affect how our body absorbs nutrients and how we, are able to make use of our stored body fat. It all plays a part. So even if we're eating exactly the right things, if the other stuff isn't in place, eventually it'll plateau or it's not going to work. And when I realized I needed God back in my life, I mean, he was there always, right? He's always there, but I needed to actually talk to him, pray, and meditate, because here I was with a whole boatload of emotional challenges, and I was trying to do it all by my own strength, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, doomed to fail. Doesn't matter how many books you've read, doesn't matter how much, you might be trained or whatever. If you are doing it strictly on your own strength, while it may work for a time, long term, it is not. And you're going to feel burned out. I certainly did. So it's easy, let me correct that. It's simple. It doesn't mean it's easy, but anything worthwhile is worth fighting for. And if it comes to you too easily, then it's probably not worthwhile. in my personal experience. And I had to learn how to start praying to God again, how to start digging through the scriptures, how to start putting it into practice in my life with my faith. And the two go hand in hand. I could not, there's no way I ever would have gotten rid of the brain fog if I was still filling my body up with carbohydrates, because the carbs and all the sugars affect your brain functioning. Science has shown this. That's why you get a lot of patients, say with early onset Alzheimer's, they call it type 3 diabetes, which is how carbohydrates can actually play a role in causing these things to occur. So the fact that there's brain fog with fibro, well, that's not a surprise. Consuming carbohydrates and lots of fruit, so fructose and carbs and all the, sucrose and glucose that was going into my body was making it worse. And once I cut that stuff out, oh my goodness, it was like my mind just opened up. Like it was, if you think about, I just read in the news that some skiers in Austria got caught underneath an avalanche Christmas Day. Now, luckily they were all rescued and they're all fine. They're going to recover. But being covered by an avalanche of snow, okay, is how I would equate the feeling. Brain fog is like your mind is covered. Yeah, I don't know why I'm making hand gestures, but it's like your brain has been covered with a thick wool or pea suit type of idea. And your thoughts don't go anywhere. And the fact that maybe once you were very intelligent and well-spoken and articulate, gone. And so when I was able to get rid of that, because I was no longer consuming carbohydrates and I was eating eggs and bacon and beef and sausages and lamb chops and steak or burgers, when I was eating that, oh my goodness, wow. I had this, like I said, it's like my brain just suddenly opened. And God was always waiting for me. Maybe that's where you're at in your life. It is simple. It is not easy. And that doesn't mean that any of my situation has even changed. I still have fibromyalgia and pain. I still have my arthritis. I still have my whiplash. I still have my lower back pain. I still have those things. I still take medication for it. I still deal with anxiety. I still deal with depression. I still, on top of taking my medications, I have to practice my not only meditating, but praying and talking to myself or talking to God, saying, okay, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, so that I don't go back into my old habits. Or I make videos like this to talk to you guys. Maybe this will help you guys. I don't know. But that's what's been happening, and that's what's helped me. I really hope that what I've shared, if you've struggled with any of the things that I've talked about, that it might help you. That's truly why I do this. I'm not doing this to make money. I don't want to do this to make money. I have been given the greatest gift, okay, which, first of all, relationship with God, that is the greatest gift. And I have been able to find the Genesis way of eating. I don't mean the band, okay, for those of us who are 50 and above, but the way God clearly laid out how we should be eating. Anything that walks, runs, swims, crawls, flies, or slithers is okay to eat, and in fact was created to be food. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful at how much this way of eating has helped improve my conditions. They're not gone, and they probably never will be. And I accept that. That's fine. But I can actually manage them now. So when I've done too much and I'm feeling sore and I'm in pain, which happens with fibromyalgia, you know what? It's okay. I recover a lot faster because I don't get nearly as swollen and, irritated and inflamed as I used to. Now, clearly, I definitely made a bad decision when I ate that piece of pineapple because, again, I broke out and almost like, it kind of looks like pimples, but my rosacea came in because I cannot eat that stuff. And yet I did, thinking, oh, I'll probably be fine now. No. Sometimes you have to try stuff and you live and learn. And I certainly did. But it's amazing to me. I consider, yes, our bodies are temples. And, we house those of us, hey, Christians, I'm talking to you, okay? We have the Spirit dwelling in us. And so for me, it's kind of like having a really important guest in your home. Well, don't you want your home to be presentable, right? To not just, throw everything in a closet and hide it, but I mean have it clean, have it organized, right? Going with this house analogy. So for me, that means putting in the things that will nourish and help my body and avoiding the things that will cause it harm, right? Because we as Christians have the greatest guest of all. We've got the Spirit in us, So that's a big part of it, health-wise. But beyond that, the mental clarity. Wow. The fact that I've been able to sit through this video and not need my neck pillow, that's amazing. Because there was a time where I would have to walk around with my neck pillow around me because I had so much leftover pain from whiplash. We were rear-ended by somebody back in 2018. And I still suffer with pain there. But now I can manage it. So I hope somehow this is helpful. I guess I would just say that I'm hoping to be able to keep making videos for you guys, that as many people as possible will get to hear not only about God and how amazing He is, and and how He definitely wants a relationship with each of us, however that looks, and He's also given us the ultimate diet as far as way of eating. Eat mostly animals. If you can tolerate a few bits of fruit and whatever, I guess, if it's local and you're in southern climates and therefore, you'll be able to tolerate it better, go right ahead. Fantastic. Have at it. But for the rest of us, and there's a lot of us, but for the rest of us, eat animals and their products if you tolerate them. Dairy if you can stand it. Eggs, yolks, and whites is always good, but definitely the yolks. And how much better we would feel, I'm convinced. I am not promising you a cure. It is not going to cure you of cancer. It is not going to keep you from possibly getting a virus or COVID, because I had both last year. But I had COVID and 0 symptoms. And when I got my cold virus, it lasted 4 days instead of 3 weeks like everybody else. So, I see that as a win-win, right? That's just me. Guys, I would love to keep going on and on and on and on forever, as you, I'm sure, know. But I'm going to leave it there. I am so glad that you guys have taken the time to watch my videos, that you have liked them, you have shared them, you have passed them on to other people. Again, that is all I want to do. I have been given the 2 greatest gifts, right? My relationship with God once again, and finding the way that he always wanted us to eat and seeing my health improve drastically. Drastically. Just by cutting out all the garbage and crap that we were never meant to eat in the first place. You know, those are things that he grew to feed the animals who would then feed us. So thank you so, so much. I was amazed to see all the new people who have subscribed, because who am I? I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I just know what I've been through and what's helped me. And I hope that that's helped you. Guys, I hope I have content, some more content before New Year's Eve. But if not, I will have more videos in the new year. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching the video. I know it's a bit of an extra long one there. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But please feel free to leave me messages, get in touch if you have any questions, and if there's anything I can do to try to help, I'll do it. You know, I like I said, I am not any sort of a professional, but if you have further questions about maybe what has helped me, or, you know, what I've done that seems to have worked, please feel free to get in touch and do that. You guys are the best. I so, so love your comments. They mean everything to me, as does your support. So I thank you for that. I hope you guys have a great rest of this year, and wish you all the best for the new year coming. And who knows, let's hope and pray and see what great things God has coming for us in 2023. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Thank you guys. I will see you in the next, well, I won't see you, but I'll be back in another video soon. And until then, please take care. And again, love you. Thanks for your support. See you in the next video. Bye.